The Sunday school lesson for March 17th, 2024 is The Raising of Lazarus, John chapter 11, verses 38 through 44. Welcome to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school lesson, you are at the right place. Notice the agenda, the backstory, the lesson text, and a brief lesson summary. The backstory takes us to John chapter 11, verses 17 through 37. Jesus comforts the sisters of Lazarus. On Jesus' arrival to Bethany, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Martha in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" The backstory ends and the lesson begins. Verses 38 through 39. Jesus therefore again, groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, "Take ye away the stone." Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, "Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days." Verses 40 through 41. Jesus saith unto her, "Said I not unto thee that, if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God?" Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me." Verses 42 through 43. And I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Verse 44. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did believed on him. A brief summary. Jesus is called to return to the Jerusalem area caused his disciples to question him. They voiced concern for Jesus' safety, but no doubt self-preservation was on their minds as well. Yet it was in reference to that very issue, life versus death, that Jesus would perform the seventh sign miracle John included. The earlier signs demonstrated Jesus' divine power, but the resurrection of Lazarus would reveal Jesus' authority over the grave. The magnitude of this authority was shown because the grave had decisively claimed Jesus' friend. Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days when Jesus arrived. Jesus would have to be able to breach the borders of death's kingdom and bring Lazarus back from behind enemy lines. Both sisters met Jesus with the same words, If you had been here, my brother would not have died. Perhaps what we know about the sisters' personality difference, according to Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, helps us understand Jesus' different responses to the same statement. Jesus responded to the rational, task-oriented Martha with a reasoned theological argument. With the more emotional Mary, he shared her heartfelt, passionate response to his loss. Jesus wept. Jesus uttered a prayer that revealed the ultimate purpose of the miracle to follow, that they may believe that the Father has sent me. Those at the grave had heard of Jesus' power and believed he could have prevented Lazarus' death, kept this man from dying. But reclaiming the dead was not within the power of any mortal, no matter how powerful. There could be no doubt about the source of Jesus' power. He directed all credit for what had happened to the Father. Jesus designed this prayer and this seventh sign miracle with the witnesses in mind. When the existence and love of God are added to a situation, the whole equation is different. Jesus alone conquers death. I want to thank you for listening and watching. If this video has been of any benefit to you, please share it with others. Thank you so much, and join me soon for the next backstory and more. And may God bless.